Hey, welcome to the first UBC podcast. Today we bring you the official first episode after the pilot episode received great feedback. For this second episode, we have the new president of UBC, Abraham Calloway. It's a pleasure to have you here, Abraham. Tell me, how does it feel to be the president of UBC?
It feels amazing. I'm having a lot of work and we want to do many things. We're quite ambitious, but with the help of my partners and the support of the population, we will achieve it.
It's interesting to have you here. I want to ask you several questions, but the first thing I'd like to know, and I think many of us are curious about, is the situation with Coppertown and the blue stuff. How do you plan to solve this?
This won't be easy, but we're planning an efficient police system. We'll build a police station right here where we're standing now.
Oh yeah, for those who don't know, we're recording this episode right at the entrance of Coppertown, next to the school where the election results were announced.
Exactly. Obviously, this place would be demolished and a police station would be built here. It's a logistically perfect area to respond to any police calls.
It's interesting what you're suggesting, but I want to focus on your phrase police call so far. We haven't had any justice system in UBC. How are you going to implement this? What laws will be applied?
I think it's pretty obvious what the laws will be. Of course, things like murder, theft, fraud, or tax evasion will be serious crimes and will be punished with prison and fines.
So would you build a prison?
It's not a priority since we have many projects in mind. The first thing is to build the police station. There will be cells where criminals will be imprisoned.
You mentioned murder, theft, fraud, and tax evasion as serious crimes, but something that's strongly affecting the population today is the blue stuff. What would you do about it?
Yes, about that. I think we should go after those responsible for it. We will give the police the tools they need to investigate and stop the people distributing these deadly chemicals.
That sounds like a good idea, but let me offer you a perspective that Lex Vandergrave from LexCorp mentioned when we interviewed him. He proposed building factories in that area, factories that would provide jobs for the residents of Coppertown. This would, in part, reduce poverty. What's your take on this?
Look, the issue of jobs will largely be handled by businesses. Mr. Vandergrave can build his factories whenever he wants. Even though I'm the president, I'm still a businessman working in UBC, so I can open factories and mines whenever I want. My family, for our part, will continue with the mining business, so we'll also be opening mines around mineral-rich areas like Coppertown.
Knowing this, I want to dive into another important issue related to the laws, the Loyalist group. So far, they've been a group of soldiers spreading their beliefs in their community. Lex said he would end this group. I know you propose a more peaceful and flexible approach, right?
That's right. Like Lex, I don't like the idea of a group of soldiers acting with free will, but I believe their skills can be used for the community's benefit. I discussed this with Kagentius, and we reached an agreement.
What's the agreement?
The agreement is that they will become a state force. They will transition from loyalists to the armed forces of United Blocks of Craftia.
And what would be the purpose of the armed forces?
Very simple. They would be responsible for fighting in wars, international, civil, and maintaining the country's strengths so that no other nation can attack us.
Interesting. It seems Kagentius has compromised quite a bit to make this happen.
Yeah, I recommend you interview him as well.
Oh, we've tried, but this podcast is funded by LexCorp, and after the pilot episode where Lex said he hated the Loyalists, it's been hard to reach him.
Yeah, Kagentius didn't take it very well.
Maybe now, with you in charge, things will calm down a bit, and in time we can interview him too.
That's right. The last thing I want is a rivalry between LexCorp and Kagentius, the commander of the UBC Armed Forces.
I suppose you won't let Kagentius use the armed forces to harm LexCorp.
Of course not. The armed forces will have different ranks and branches, so Kagentius won't have control over the entire force. If Kagentius mismanages his power, he will simply be removed.
I understand. That's very, very important.
Yes, it's crucial to divide power in any of our systems to ensure no one abuses their power.
Speaking of the systems you've proposed, let's talk about the bank. Your banking system will function similarly to the one Lex described in the pilot episode, right?
Exactly. It's a simple system with gold as the common currency. What differentiates us, and I think Lex mentioned this, is the tax system. I will charge an equal tax to businesses and residents. By residents, I mean people with regular jobs who are not business owners. These taxes will be entirely directed toward public services.
Look, something we discussed off camera with Lex and my team is the issue of gold. Gold is a valuable resource, and we thought that exploiting this resource might be a good idea, but eventually it will run out.
Well, what you're suggesting is something very long-term. I mean, we have many areas where we haven't even opened mines yet, and some mines haven't reached depths where gold can be found, so we still have a lot of gold left to extract.
That's true. Maybe it's something very long-term, and you might not even be president when that happens, but it will happen. The population is growing, and the more it grows, the more gold will be needed. So hypothetically speaking, if gold could no longer be extracted, what would you do?
That's a very interesting hypothetical, although a bit extreme. In that case, I think there are two options. One would be to work with the gold we already have. In that case, gold's value would increase, and we'd have to learn to survive on the reserves we have left.
Okay, and what's the second option?
The second option would be to introduce a new currency.
Like a less valuable mineral like copper, for example?
That could be, but what I mean is something with even less value. we could attribute value to a new object, so to speak.
I don't think I'm following.
For example, instead of looking for a mineral, we could create a cheap-to-produce object, something that could be made from wood and give it value.
Something like paper?
Exactly. Paper would be perfect because we could write something on it to signify its value. This way we'd have a currency that's cheaper to produce and has a longer lifespan since trees can be replanted indefinitely.
That sounds pretty good, although it seems a bit complex to implement. Have you thought about this before?
I've thought about it, but we didn't implement it because it might be difficult to explain to the public. People already know about gold, and even so, it will be hard to phase out bartering.
True. Now, I want to move a little away from the political side and talk about your business. You're one of the most successful businessmen in the city, and the most successful in mining.
Sorry, I'd like to correct you. I'm not the most successful. It's my family as a whole. I've just taken the lead.
That's true. My apologies. But as the leader of the Calloway family, could you tell us a bit about how your company works and how you became so successful?
It's been a process of hard work. I personally saw the opportunity in mining and started studying minerals. Together with my brother Stephen, we created a very lucrative bartering system for us. Over time, Stephen proposed exporting these minerals to other villages, and that's when we took a major leap in the mineral world.
It's fascinating to see that you and your brother Stephen have built so much value around minerals. Today, you're considered an expert in minerals. Do you think it's important for the youth of UBC to learn about minerals?
Interesting question. Today, minerals and mining are the country's main sources of wealth, and I think it's important for both young people and adults to learn about the value of minerals. There's always a chance to discover something new.
Excellent. Thank you very much for your time, Abraham. It was a pleasure to have you here today.
It was my pleasure, Simon.
Well, guys, this was the first official episode of UBC Podcast. We'll be making more episodes like this in the future. In the next one, we'll have an exclusive guest from Copper Town. If you want to ask them questions, you can write them in the comments, and we'll be selecting some. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Goodbye.